Hello, traveler. Thank you for being here. Today we have a new moon in Capricorn. So, of course, we will do a reading to connect with that energy. And we'll pull some runes and some cards and see what messages are meant for you this new moon. We have two piles to choose from. They are both different types of angel aura quartz. Pile 1 will be this blue angel aura quartz. And pile 2 will be the pink angel aura quartz. So just take some deep breaths and allow your intuition in just the first couple seconds to guide you to the pile that you're most connected with right now. This will be a reading for the collective, so not all messages will be for you personally, and that's okay. Please just take whatever resonates and leave the rest for someone else. I'll see you at your pile. Hello, pile 1. If you chose the blue angel aura quartz, then this reading is for you. As usual, we're going to start by pulling some runes. Just to get a general energy to connect to for pile 1's reading. So I'm just going to reach in and grab a small handful. This bag is small. It's kind of hard to get my hand in. Okay, so what I'm getting from this rune reading is that you are dealing with a question of timing right now. Possibly, okay, I'm getting some really specific messages here, but the initial reading is that you're trying to decide whether something should happen now or later. That's the simple version. You're looking for answers as to whether something should happen now or later. It's possible that this is referencing a financial question, for instance, an investment. I can see a question here and a desire to understand the best course of action, whether perhaps an investment should be pulled out now or if leaving it longer term might possibly result in a bigger payoff. Or for instance, should I sell my house now or should I wait until the market changes? That's the kind of question that I'm seeing here. Would it be better for me to do this now, make this decision now, make this change now. So it does seem to be maybe more geared towards a financial question, or a question of making some kind of a structural life change, making a big purchase or a sale. That's mostly the energy I'm getting from this, but certainly other things are possible. Maybe it's someone close to you that's thinking about making this decision, if it's not you yourself. Could be someone in your family that this decision would then affect you in some way. Or perhaps it's just the energy that's around you right now, because you or someone close to you is going through, thinking through all of the possible outcomes and implications of the different choices involved here. If this resonates for you in any way, then I'm going to pull some cards on this. So I'll just move these runes over. A lot of runes here that are very connected with time, the passage of time, and also with harvest and reaping rewards from something. So that's one of the places I'm getting this interpretation from. We have Yira and Dagas, which are the year rune and the day rune. So that's, a longer term time frame and a shorter term time frame. But they both have the same sort of cyclical energy, the same sort of Wheel of Fortune type energy of being focused on the right timing for something, and also putting in the work and getting a reward back. So there's a give and take to this energy. So I really feel a sense of questioning about output versus input, reward versus the work put in for it, whether or not something is going to be worth what's being put in. I guess, now that I'm saying this could easily pertain to a relationship as well. But maybe just the way that you're looking at this question is a little more I don't want to say transactional, but kind of loss versus gain sort of question, a pros versus cons sort of type of question. So if you are in that mode, or someone around you close to you is in that mode, then this could very well be a reading for you. So we'll pull some cards on this, using a beautiful new deck that I received as a gift over the holidays. Of course, as always, I link my decks down below in case you're curious. This one is talking to me today. Okay. Interesting. Wow. We have 2 kings already. Cups and pentacles, which makes a lot of sense. Head versus heart. We do get that theme a lot because that's one of the central themes of being alive, I feel. But we've also got the Queen of Pentacles. So we have the King and Queen of Pentacles. So possible that there's a lot of influence towards staying the course. Maybe you're getting advice from people around you to kind of stick it out, stay with what you're already doing, keep going down the path you're going, and you're just kind of wondering if that is going to allow you to really be true to yourself or get the most possible outcome or best possible reward out of what you're putting in. Because the King of Cups is much deeper, much more emotional, more heart-based, and Pentacles is very grounded, very earthy. We do have a new moon right now in Capricorn, which is an earth sign, and the Pentacles would certainly speak to Capricorn energy. And the new moon, as you probably know, is a really good time to start something, to bring something to a close and start something new. it's a really good time for introspection, for thinking things through, for going inward, and listening to your higher self and your intuition, kind of quieting down and letting your intuition speak to you. So it's a really good time to be asking these types of questions. Okay, message gets clearer with each card as usual. We have the Six of Cups, which has to do, as you can probably see on the image on this card, there's a clock on the top. It has to do with time. It has to do with, often the energy of the Six of Cups is very nostalgic energy. So what this is telling me is there's an attachment. Whatever it is that you are questioning, selling, or moving on from, or ending, is something that you have deep emotional attachment to and probably a long history with. So this could be a childhood home, this could be a family business that you've taken over after a loved one has passed away or handed it off to you, or something closing, a store that your parents ran that's closing, something that you want to sell that you've had a long time, or a relationship with someone that you've been with a really long time and have known for a long time, and it feels like this person, place, or thing is kind of enmeshed with your sense of self. There's something, we got the Queen of Wands, you have something kind of nagging at you in the back of your mind that seems exciting, seems like it's almost like a little spark. Maybe it's a big spark. It is the Queen of Wands after all, and not the Page of Wands. So it's possible it's a pretty big spark, something that's been living in your heart for a while now, but it feels a little bit at odds with the path you've already been on, or the obligations that you feel that you have. You know, as I'm speaking, it's really bringing a pop culture reference to the forefront for me, which is that Disney movie Elemental that just came out not too long ago. Even the fire and the water imagery. I mean, all the elements are in the tarot, of course, so it's going to connect, but that sort of interplay between the two sides of ourselves and the two of the extremes of life, and how they come together and blend to create a balanced experience. So it feels like maybe, possibly, you have an imbalance where the practical side, the grounded side, the safety, money, roof over your head, food on the table side is running your life a little bit, which makes perfect sense. That's the number one priority. We have to accomplish those things first before we can really be free to let our mind and our heart go elsewhere. But maybe you have worked really hard to get those things in place, and you've prioritized those things over other things, and put your passions or your dreams a little bit on hold, or maybe even haven't looked at them in a while. And what's happening now is you're on a little bit of an autopilot. So you've gotten so accustomed to focusing on survival, and you've built up that framework where you are now surviving, maybe even more. You might be even thriving or bordering on thriving, to the point where survival isn't an everyday, all-consuming worry anymore. But you haven't reevaluated your goals. You haven't reevaluated your priorities with that in mind. So sometimes we can just get really stuck in a routine that feels like, okay, well, this is what's gotten me to this point, so therefore I would be rocking the boat unnecessarily, or losing something, or risking. It's more the fear of the risking of upsetting the balance that you've created if you were to shift any of your habits or thoughts to anything else. And that's just, not usually the way it works. It's usually a little bit more flowing, and once you've worked and established something, then the reason you worked to establish that probably was to have the feeling of a little more freedom, working towards that place of not being in survival mode anymore. But there wasn't a plan for once you reach that point. And that's totally okay. You don't need to have a plan for everything. But now that you're there, maybe it's time to look around and take stock a little bit. First of all, celebrate what you've accomplished, because that is a huge feat. It's really hard, especially in today's society, at least where I live in the United States, probably in many other places as well. It's hard to get to that point of not being, struggling for survival. And if you are still struggling for survival, then perhaps your heart is kind of, maybe to a point of annoyance for you, is poking in here and there and saying like, hey, what about me? And you're kind of like, I don't have time for that. I really need to make sure that everything's okay. And you know best what's best for you. But I guess what the message is coming through in this reading is that there might be some small way that you can allow the other sides of you to play sometimes. Allow the other sides of you to come to the table and be part of your experience, so that you're not so focused on one aspect, because that imbalance will have ripple effects into the rest of your life and create anxiety. Maybe you're having trouble sleeping. Maybe you're having a lot of anxiety dreams. I know I have been. Lately I've been having very, very strange. I mean, they're actually not very outlandish dreams. They're kind of realistic, but they're very stuff like things happening that I don't really think about, and then I wake up really anxious. So I don't know if anyone else is experiencing that energy. And we can all feel that we're in sort of a time of global shift right now. There's a lot of uncertainty, and maybe I'm just picking up on that because I am very open energetically. So sometimes I pick up on bigger themes, but maybe you're experiencing something similar. I don't know. I would absolutely love to hear in the comments if you are. I would really appreciate connecting with people over that. But anyway, that's a little bit of a side note. But yeah, it's possible that maybe you've got an idea, like we talked about at the beginning, something you want to sell or invest in or try or walk away from or walk towards, that you're having trouble even getting that thought out of your mind. It's almost like that you can't do that right now, or you practically, it's not practical right now to do that, but it just keeps nagging at you, and you keep thinking about it, and you keep feeling like you're heading in that direction, whether you're meaning to or not. What have we got here? 3 of Cups. Yeah, I think that you are, I think you might be working too hard. Who isn't though, right? Yeah. But definitely what I said earlier about celebrating how far you've come, that's very resonant with the 3 of Cups. But the 3 of Cups also represents just fun, lightheartedness, being able to hang out with your friends, being able to go out for dinner or a drink with some of your friends instead of every single night having to be errands or chores or I don't have time for anything that isn't strictly necessary. The 3 of Cups is frivolity. It's the opposite of practical and necessary. But I would argue that balance is really needed for all of us. You wouldn't want to be doing that every night. That would be imbalance the other direction. But maybe there's a little bit of room for that. And it doesn't need to be, going out and doing something either. It can just be taking a night at home with your family to do something that isn't part of the routine or part of the schedule, or doesn't have a purpose other than play. Have a movie night where you put blankets down on the floor and make popcorn and go camping in your own backyard, that kind of stuff, just to kind of bring a little, shake up the system a little bit, agitate the routine a little bit, because there's definitely something trying to break through in your subconscious and your conscious mind. There's a message trying to get through, or a path that's trying to illuminate itself to you. And the message I'm getting is that you're focusing on too narrow of a road right now to be able to see that or hear that message. So if you are able to shake your your mind open a tiny bit with just kind of snapping yourself out of the routine and bringing some lightheartedness to your life, you might be able to suddenly hear or see those messages a little bit clearer, and it'll feel like the clouds are clearing a little bit, because I feel like there's definitely some confusion, which is probably why you're so focused on survival, because that's safe, it's familiar, it's safe. And when we have uncertainty and we don't know the next step, that's very scary for people. But that's an instinctual animal trait. We want to understand what to expect. That's how we stay safe. So when things feel uncertain or you just don't know what's coming, we tend to try to create that parameter of safety, and then we miss things sometimes. The Lovers. Yeah, the Lovers is, of course it can be a romantic card or relationship card, but in the old tarot, it used to be called the Choice. It has to do with the balance between the masculine, the feminine, and the divine, the spiritual. So, that could easily be a description of a relationship where all three of those elements are present in each partner. Some are more dominant than others in each partner, and the coming together creates that balance. But it can also be, your relationship with yourself. We have the Hanged Man as well. So that indicates that maybe that, like I was saying, that balance is a little stagnant, it's not like it's going wildly in any wrong direction, it's just a little bit stuck. So the Hanged Man has to do with perspective and, being able to look at things from a different angle and suddenly being able to see what you couldn't see before. We get a little bit of advice for pile 1, please, about how to achieve this perspective shift. A little bit of advice, please. Interesting. We have the Six of Swords and then the Seven of Swords. So what this tells me is that what's holding you back, a little bit of a surprising answer, but what's holding you back is actually suspicion and mistrust. So that tells me there's been trauma. Both cards, tell me that there's been trauma. You've been through some really hard things. Probably been through some situations where the people around you were not being honest or were using you, maybe worse, maybe hurting you, and you learned to close off the heart a little bit and open up your mind more and let your mind be your strength. Maybe physically, you had situations where you, maybe as a child or an adult, but maybe where you weren't physically safe or you weren't physically as strong as the people around you, the energies around you, and your mind had to be your weapon or your protection, your shield, and also the asset that you brought to the table. What got you where you are is the way that you would think, the way you would talk, your logic, your organization, your words, and your intellect, and that is kind of has served you when you really needed it, but now it's holding you back a little bit from being able to go to the next step. The next stage of your life is calmer waters than what you're used to. Maybe you're already there, maybe you can just kind of see it on the horizon, but that is the next step for you. That's where you're headed. That's what you deserve. You've earned it, karmically and otherwise. And you're kind of staying where you are because of familiarity, not realizing that what is ahead is much, I don't want to say better because that's so subjective, but it's definitely calmer. It's more peaceful. It's more enjoyable. It has the potential of being much happier, and it's definitely safer than where you've been. So just something to keep in mind as you try to work on shifting your perspective and letting a little bit of the lightness back in. The message that's, trying to reach you is it's safe to go forward. And of course, you can't take that from me. You need to receive that message yourself and know it and feel it. So the advice is to try to find a way to soften and shift your focus, even just momentarily. I'm not telling you to take your hands off the wheel of your life or anything like that, but just to soften for even one hour, get in a bathtub with some bubbles and some music and meditate and see what comes. Soften your exterior when it's safe to do so at a time of your choosing, in a setting of your choosing, and see what comes through. Because there's definitely a choice that you're trying to make, or something that you feel is on the horizon, and it's really causing you, I feel, some fear, some anxiety, which is completely understandable. It's an unknown, and we never know, if we always worry that we're not making the right decision without really understanding that the big picture is there is no wrong choice. There was a therapist once that used to say to someone that I knew, you can't make a wrong choice. Whatever you choose will be right, because there isn't one prescribed path or one prescribed way to get where you're going. Just different roads. So you really can't take a wrong road. It's all going to go where you're supposed to go. It's just a matter of what the journey is like for you and how it feels along the way. That's really what, where our focus is best served, because that allows the universe to deliver things that we're not expecting, and things that are more aligned with what we really want, that are not of our own invention, and therefore much more delightful, much more expansive, much more fun and interesting and surprising in good ways. So if you keep yourself to only what you know and what's familiar for safety reasons, you are missing a lot of that. You're still going to get where you're going, but you could have a lot more fun along the way. You could enjoy the path there more. So it's a really helpful message, I think, for most of us. I mean, no, it helped me, but I hope that it resonated for some of you as well. And if you feel comfortable sharing, as always, I'm eager to hear your story in the comments. And I hope you have a beautiful, introspective, peaceful new moon. And I'll be seeing you in my next reading. Thanks again. Bye-bye. Hello, Pile 2. If you chose the pink Angel Aura Quartz, then this is your reading. As usual, we will start by pulling some runes for a little bit of a general energetic overview. Can't deny that. Came flying right out. Can't say that's ever happened before. So we'll just pull a few more from the bag. Let's see what these are. Okay. So this rune that came flying out is Gifu. The meaning of it is gift. It can also refer to a partnership, a relationship, a crossroads, an exchange. So oftentimes it's read as meaning contracts or an agreement of some kind. And just looking at the runes that are face down, it definitely feels like a contract of some kind to me. Could be a marriage contract, could be a professional contract, but it's definitely something where you are getting something out of it. You are receiving something in exchange for something else. Now, Gifu can sometimes be a gift that appears to kind of show up and be without strings, and then later you sort of realize that you've agreed to an exchange or something, like you have to do something in return. It's an equal exchange. It's not, a gift out of nowhere with no cost. And I would say that does apply here, just looking again at the runes that are face down. But I will say it's pretty clear with Hagalaz face down that this is a positive situation. You might not be fully convinced of that yet, or you might have some doubts, and maybe that's why you're watching this reading. But it is a positive situation. That said, you should know what the agreement is. You should be aware of what you're agreeing to, what's going to be expected in return for what you're receiving. But ultimately, this is positive. It's not, this agreement's being offered in good faith or being made in good faith. This isn't a con or something. But I do see that there are some concerns on your end. Concerns about your identity, maybe being changed or being kind of bulldozed in some way. Things that come to mind that could fall into this are, for instance, signing an agreement to sell an idea or to certainly marry someone, maybe giving up your last name, or feeling like if you marry someone it somehow takes away from your individuality, or it says something, it changes who you are in some way. These are the fears or the anxieties that you might be thinking about. It could be something like signing with a record label or a publisher, and part of signing that agreement entails giving away some control. And the fear is that, you have this nagging intuition that maybe you might regret that later. Like it's not going to be this rosy version that you're being sold in the contract or by the people who want you to sign it. And there may be some of that. There's going to be compromise, of course, because this is an exchange. You're giving something in return for something else. But this is not going to be a disaster. This is not going to be something that derails you or something that you regret on any sort of large scale. I'm sure that there will be difficult moments, like there are in everything, but as long as you go into it with the spirit of understanding what the agreement is and truly accepting that agreement, you don't have to be worried that it's going to go off the rails, I guess is what I'm seeing here. You don't have to worry that someone's going to change what they're agreeing to, like the other party's going to suddenly do something they said they wouldn't do or something like that. But obviously we're going to get some more details from the cards if this resonates for you. And stick around while I pull a few cards. Move those off to the side. And, today is a new moon. So if you're watching this at the time of upload, which it's not necessary, the energy can be applicable to whatever time you're in, but if you happen to be watching at the time of upload, we do have a new moon today, which means that it's a really good time for starting new things, for new ventures, for signing agreements, for making plans. setting things in motion, having those conversations, and really taking those steps to start something new. This is very good energy for that. And it's very introspective energy too, so it allows you to kind of be thinking that through. First card to fly out, the Magician. Really good sign. A reminder that you are in control, that you are the puppet master of your own journey, your own existence, and that you are, whether it feels like it or not, you are actually in control of where you're headed. And sometimes control can be misleading. The word itself is misleading, because sometimes controlling something can be very hands-off. When we get too zoomed in, that's when we actually lose control. Judgment. Yeah, kind of opening your eyes to what you deserve and what's coming to you, and accepting it, allowing it to come in, realizing that you have already earned it, you've already manifested it. We have manifestation and revelation, so it couldn't be clearer that this is something that you asked for. Shadow. That's what the devil is called in this deck. And as you can see here, as in some other decks, the imagery is the illusion of the devil. So we have the hands making the shadow of the devil. So a reminder that our perceived dangers and fears are sometimes of our own making. We feel certain things might be inevitable. We might assume things in order to protect ourselves. The Wheel of Fortune in reverse. Speaking about divine timing, trying not to force things into a rhythm that is unnatural for them, allowing flow. The advice is to allow flow. I recently read something that said that one of the reasons that we self-sabotage things is because that allows us to feel like we have control over the outcome. When we sabotage something, we know exactly what's going to happen, right? We know exactly how it's going to go. And that may feel safer to us than allowing things to unfold, because we really don't know the outcome, and that's the scarier thing, the unfamiliarity. Pile 1 had some similar themes, not the same, but it's different energy, but some similar themes about sticking to what's familiar. So it's possible you're watching both piles and some of your energy is coming over, or this is just a very common universal issue right now. But sticking to what's familiar, even if it's less than what we deserve, can sometimes be a tactic to keep ourselves safe. And this is a reminder not to create enemies or create danger when it's not there, to allow things to unfold and only address issues in their correct time. Basically working on giving things the benefit of the doubt until you see a problem. Don't create problems before they exist and then try to solve them ahead of time. Obviously, having a plan or having a buffer for rainy day, all of that is positive, but each little step and all the minutia of each point along the way, having a catastrophizing perspective of everything, like, oh, this person will definitely lie to me, this person's going to cheat me, this person is only out for themselves, this will never work, I shouldn't fly that close to the sun because then I can get burned. If these are familiar types of thoughts that you tend to struggle with, or you tend to notice running through your mind, then this is a very strong reminder especially really all of these cards, and the Four of Pentacles as well, holding too tightly. The Four of Pentacles is about holding too tightly to something, being too rigid, too sometimes even stingy, not just with money, but with your energy, with your trust. And you may have a very good reason for doing that. Historically, you might have had some experiences that required you to buckle down and be a little tighter with your precious heart, your trust, your time, your talent, your skills, whatever it might be. Maybe it is money, but the advice right now is to not let that be a blanket approach to life. So if you have an opportunity that we saw in the runes with Gifu, an offer, the idea of entering a partnership of some kind, whether it's business or personal, you're being reminded that it's not a foregone conclusion that you're going to get screwed over. So if you're looking at it that way, you might be kind of robbing yourself. In fact, you definitely would be robbing yourself of joy around that situation. But there's a reminder that that isn't a given. You actually have a lot of control over what you attract and what you create. And don't manifest, or that's the wrong word. It's like, don't materialize illusion problems and then focus all your attention on solving them, because that's taking you away from what you deserve. You deserve to be calm and in your power, enjoying the things that you create, the things that you manifest, because you do deserve them. You worked already. You already did the investing part. You deserve the reward part. But your perspective might be a little too locked down and a little too narrow to see that. It's similar in a lot of ways to pile one, but not exactly the same energy. It's very interesting. I wonder how many of you are watching both piles. And maybe this is a compound or a complex issue that kind of spans the energy of both readings. Yeah. The Ten of Pentacles, abundance, the ultimate achievement of your goals, the achievement of you can see the words, there's little keywords on this deck that kind of help to describe the energy. The Ten of Pentacles, or the Ten of Rings, says culmination, satisfaction. It's the achievement of what you've been working towards, and that is absolutely within your reach. There's nothing keeping you, there's nothing in the way of that, except for the Eight of Swords, your own fear. Down here it says overcoming fears, self-entrapment. This is a self-imposed blockage or prison that isn't real. There isn't anything actually keeping you from this. It's your fear. There's a lot of, I can see fear, and I'm not saying that it's not come by honestly. You may have very good reasons to have developed this survival skill of noticing or looking for potential danger. There's no reason to be hard on yourself about this or beat yourself up over this. This is just a reminder that the Nine of Cups too, you have some of the best cards in the deck when it comes to happiness and fulfillment and achieving goals. These aren't just good luck cards, or the universe is going to give you a gift, or you're getting a windfall just for fun. No, these are things that you work for. You have been through the journey and all the hardship and all of the uncertainty along the way and all of the difficulties on the way to the Ten of Pentacles and the Nine of Cups, which also means contentment, satisfaction. Satisfaction is a theme here. You have probably always felt that the emotion or the experience of satisfaction was elusive to you. Like maybe you feel like you aren't ever satisfied, or you don't know what satisfaction would feel like no matter what you achieve. Maybe it feels like there's always something in the way, a barrier. There's always one more thing you need to do. This is definitely reminding you that that is within your control. You are not being, those feelings are not being foisted upon you by some sort of external source, even though it may feel that way. You have the power. You're the magician. And the dangers are of your own invention. In this case, in this reading. Certainly there are real dangers out there. Not telling you to be reckless in any way. It's just a reminder to maybe check in with your intuition a little bit more, maybe do a little bit more meditating if possible, and try to quiet down some of these sort of thoughts. It's very interesting that self-entrapment comes out as I was talking about, self-sabotage. What better way to describe self-sabotage than trapping yourself and then struggling against those constraints, I would say that's very representative of the devil energy as well. There's an addiction almost to being trapped. An addiction to the victim mentality perhaps, or the never being satisfied, never having enough. There's always one more step to be accomplished. That's an addiction. It's a familiar energetic cycle that keeps you stuck. But you are meant to expand. You have there is so much abundance and beautiful enjoyment, satisfaction, fulfillment on the horizon for you. But you are really invested in this. Maybe you have a belief that these kinds of things just don't happen to people like you. Or maybe you think that there's something about you. You're just not destined for that in this life. And that the message here is that couldn't be further from the truth. And, nothing bad's going to happen to you if you don't make this shift. But if you are able to make this shift, you could start enjoying life now. You could have things sooner that you deeply desire and deserve. But you are prolonging you have the lack mentality, the struggle mentality. Now I'm not saying that this, if you have real circumstances that are causing you struggle, I'm not talking about that those things aren't real. I'm not invalidating that experience at all. This is more about the mental and emotional side of things and how we could improve our experience in the moment by shifting our perspective and looking at what's ahead, these things, and maybe focusing a little bit less on the past, maybe holding on less to things that are painful. Because you really have to think, is this serving me? Why am I holding on to this? Is it because I feel like I deserve to really live out and play out over and over again this particular trauma or this story that has been my reality in the past? Your story is valid. You don't need to continue to live it in order for it to have happened and be part of you. We absorb our trauma. Our trauma doesn't go away. It doesn't shrink. We don't work through it and it disappears. We grow around it. We expand around it. So you are not the person you were before your trauma. You're not a different person than the person that experienced the trauma. You have grown around your trauma and it's part of you. And how beautiful that you can adapt that way. And we just adjust. We're very adaptable. That's how we've evolved and survived this long and, created the society that we have and, for better or for worse. But every living thing on the planet today has adapted and evolved through a lot of change and a lot of hardship. We're all survivors. Every single living thing on this planet now is a survivor. I feel that there might be one or two more cards that want to jump out for you. Pile 2. Oh, there it is. Yeah. Awesome. The Chariot. Yeah, forward momentum. And the Five of Wands. Frustration, irritation, not anything deep or serious, but just surface level, just having that bit of sand in your shoe that's just irritating you as you try to go along. Maybe kind of pulling you back a little bit every time. Maybe you feel like you take a step forward and then 2 steps back. Maybe it's that kind of energy where you just can't get the momentum going because there are so many things that you're holding so tightly to you that are pulling you backwards each time you go forward. That's extremely frustrating, and it could definitely see how that can evolve into a devil energy, feeling like the world is against you. Okay, interesting. We've got the Ace of Pentacles in reverse. So it's possible that one of these things that's holding you back or you're holding on to is a sense of not being recognized, not being given what's owed to you, something that you deserve that you didn't get. And that is really blocking your happiness. Maybe there was a time you lost a lot. Maybe it was financial. Maybe someone stole your idea of something. Maybe you had a divorce and a person took a lot of money from you. It could be a lot of different situations, but I could very easily see how that would get in the way of your forward momentum, because you have this story that you believe now, and you have good reason to feel that way, which is that anything you gain is going to be taken from you. Any progress you make is just going to be taken. So what's the point? I can clearly see why. It's a very understandable reaction, but the advice is to have a fresh start. The Fool. A leap of faith, optimism, freedom, starting from scratch, cleanse. Would highly recommend anything you can do to help you cleanse that energy and feel like you're starting a new chapter. I mean, we just had a new year, a new calendar year. It's a new moon today. There are many ways to cleanse energetically. You can do bathing, swimming, you can use water. You can stand out in the wind on a windy day and envision it blowing everything old away and cleaning you out. You can use smoke cleansing, you can use incense, you can meditate. I would highly recommend putting together your own ritual to start over, something for a fresh start. Just energetically. You don't need to cut everything out of your life or wipe any slates clean unless you would like to. But this is an energetic cleanse that needs to happen, because you have a lot of attachments weighing you down, but you're already on the right track. You're already heading towards your ultimate abundance, happiness, fulfillment, success. You're already on your way. You just have to get a few things cleansed out of your path, and then that path will be so obvious and clear to you. So I definitely recommend either looking up some rituals for cleansing or for fresh starts, or creating your own by putting together some things that feel meaningful to you. You can write things on paper or a bay leaf and burn them. You can bury things, write things down and bury them, or have a jar and bury it. You can do something as simple as writing something on a piece of paper and flushing it down the toilet, or pouring, making a simmer pot with some different ingredients, and as you stir it, thinking about all of these things that have kind of stirred up this insecurity in you, or made you feel like you weren't good enough, or you're unsafe, or you can't trust anyone, and then pour it down the drain. And as it's going down the drain, envision it going away from you. There are a lot of different things you can do, but I highly recommend finding something that feels really meaningful to you and performing that. Either if you're able to do it, today, the new moon, or in about 2 weeks we'll have a full moon, and after that will be the waning phase of the moon, and that's a really good time to release. So if you would like to take more time to think it through, you could take this moon phase to kind of make a plan and figure out what would be meaningful for you, and then perform it during the waning phase of the moon after the full moon in about 2 weeks. So end of January into the beginning of February would be a really good time to do that. Yeah, as always, I'm reading comments, so if you would like to share anything, any way this resonated with you, I would love to hear. Otherwise, Pile 2, thank you so much for joining me. I hope you have a really productive new moon and that you can find some clarity and some peace around this. And I look forward to seeing you in my next reading. Thanks. Bye-bye.